Hold on now. Okay, let us start. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achayang kamame bante buri panya tathagata kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achayang kamame dhamma sanditika akalika kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achayang kamame sangha supatipanna anuttara sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tisarana gamanang paripunang panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adina dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Vikala bhojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Nacha, Gita, Vadita, Visukadasana, Malakanda, Vilepana, Dharana, Mandana, Vibhusanatana, Veramani Sikkapadang Samadhiyami. Uchasayana, Mahasayana, Veramani Sikkapadang Samadhiyami. Idang me silang, Magapala Nyanasa, Pachayo, Hotu, Appamadena Sampadeta, Sa. Right, let us do some guided upeka. Sit here, we let go of all the vipassana objects, and just keep the mind present, calm and peaceful. Relax the body, relax from top of the head to the forehead, face, neck and shoulders, arms, chest area, stomach area, to the back, to the spine, to the buttocks and hips, to the thighs, knees, calves, the ankles, soles, toes. So relax the body, keep the mind present, peaceful, calm, alert. I am the owner of my own karma. I am the owner of my own karma. Whatever wholesome actions, speech or thoughts that I've done, then it will result, it will give rise to happy resultant in the present or in the future. Whatever unwholesome actions, speech or thoughts I've done in the past, then it will give rise to unhappy resultant in the present or in the future. Are you able to accept the law of karma? I'm subjected to the law of samsara. aging, sickness, death, and rebirth. I'm, I'm subjected to the law of samsara, through aging, through sickness, through death, and through rebirth. May I be able to accept the truth without falling the mind into anxiety or fear or agitation, but able to accept them with wisdom and understanding. Now let us expand. Let's expand out to all the beings around here, monks and nuns, fellow yogis, to the volunteers, helpers, workers, donors, supporters, to all the guardian devas of this center, to all other devas residing here, to all the petas, and to all the animals, big, small, seen or unseen. Now all of us here are owners of our own karma. All of us here, karma is our closest relative. Whatever wholesome action, speech, or thought we have done in our past, then it will give rise to happy resultant in the present or future. Whatever unwholesome action, speech, or thought we have done in the past, then it will give rise to unhappy resultant in the present or future. We are subjected to the law of karma. We too are subjected to the law of samsara. Through aging, sickness, death, and rebirth. May we all able to accept the truth. May we all able to accept the truth without fear, without agitation, without grief, without remorse, but with understanding and wisdom. May we all able to accept the truth. Now let us expand further. Let us expand to all the beings around here, to all the beings in this country, humans or non-humans, humans or non-humans, devas or petas, animals big, small, far or near, seen or unseen. They are all subjected to the law of karma. They are the owners of their own karma. Whatever wholesome actions, speech, or thought they have done in the past, then happy resultant will follow them in the present or future. And whatever unwholesome actions, speech, or thoughts they have done in the past, then unhappy resultant will follow them in the present or future. They are all subjected to the law of karma. They too are subjected to the law of samsara, subjected to aging, disease, death, and rebirth. They are subjected to this truth. May we all able to accept the truth without fear, without worry or remorse, without grief. May we accept the truth with understanding and wisdom. Now let us expand further. Let us expand to all the beings in this world, without exception. May they be those we love near or far away, or those people whom we do not know wherever they are, or to those whom we dislike or those who dislike us. To all the guardian devas of the Buddha Sasana, to all other devas residing in this world, to all the petas, and to all the animals, big, small, seen or unseen, far or near. All beings here are subjected to the law of karma. They are the owners of their own karma. Whatever wholesome actions, speech, or thoughts they have done in the past, then happy resultant will follow them in the present or future. And whatever unwholesome actions, speech, or thoughts they have done in the past, then unhappy resultant will follow them in the present or in the future. They too are subjected to the law of samsara, aging, or sickness, death, and rebirth. All beings here are subjected to the law of karma, to the law of samsara. May we all able to accept the truth without fear, without anxiety, without remorse or regret, but with understanding and wisdom. Now let us expand. Let us expand equanimity to all beings without exception, without boundary, without conditions. All beings in this universe or universes, all beings from the highest plane of existence down to the lowest planes of existence, all planes in all the world systems. All beings are subjected to the law of karma. They are the owners of their own karma. Karma is their closest relative. Whatever wholesome actions they have done in the past, then happy resultant will follow them in the present or future. And whatever unwholesome actions, speech or thoughts from the past, then unhappy resultant will follow them in the present or future. So all beings are subjected to the law of karma. They too are subjected to the cycle of birth and rebirth, cycle of samsara. They're subjected to aging, or sickness, death, and rebirth. All beings are subjected to this truth. May we all able to accept the truth without fear, without anger, without grief, remorse, but with wisdom and an understanding. May we all able to accept the truth without fear, without sadness, but with wisdom and understanding. And slowly let go of the reflection and bring the mind back again to the present. Bring the mind back again to the present. Feel the sensation. Feel the rise and fall of the abdomen. Then we can slowly open our eyes. So yesterday we were discussing on the equanimity. As I said, this equanimity is not something that we tend to develop in our everyday life. And also even in a spiritual development. Because this equanimity it's usually, when it comes in a higher level of development. The clearer part of it, when it arises, it comes in a deeper aspect of the development, whether in samatha or vipassana. The equanimity here, when they arise, it is stabilized. It stabilizes all other mental factors so that they do not become excessive or deficient, so that they are always remain in the middle. That means remain in the optimum level. Now this equanimity also, they are wholesome mental state. They are wholesome mental states. Comparatively to like another similar to equanimity, that is to say like indifference, which is for Brahma Viharas under Upekkha, they are we call the near enemy of Upekkha. It looks like Upekkha, but it is not Upekkha. It is an unwholesome mental state, a mind that don't bother, don't care. That means it also comes with a lot of ignorance also. Now the far enemy, that means it's completely the opposite of Upekkha. That means Upekkha is stabilized. That means the opposite is agitated. Agitation in the sense that the mind goes into like fear, sadness, in a sense of it's a bit of a unpleasant, then or looking for joy, looking for happiness, then the mind fluctuates between these two, but it cannot remain at the center. Because in our life, the way that we brought up, the way that we go through our lives, we always seek between these two extremes. Happiness, then of course, we don't seek the suffering, but the suffering will come because of we attach to the happiness, the joy. But we don't know how to come to the middle. So it's where this practice, the vipassana practice, it helps us to bring our mind to the middle. Because if you don't come to the middle, progress don't come in. Because when you start meditating, you already, whether you like it or not, the balancing is there already. Although in the beginning, we don't ask you to do so much of this balance here, balance there. No. But it's already there. The moment you start meditating, however long ago, if your mind is not in the optimum level of noting, then the mind cannot able to improve. So the balance is always there. A certain degree of balance needed to be there while we are doing vipassana. But with that, we want it to prolong that noting mind. So we prolong that noting mind for it to go longer, and also because when it goes longer, it can able to penetrate to see objects, the characteristics much more deeper. That means the progress in the vipassana will take place. Now, yesterday also I mentioned about the 10 types of upekkha. As I said, the 10 types is all like they have collected it from the suttas, Abhidhamma, and so on. Even Vinaya, they collate it and they tell you how the 10 types are being used, the upekkha being used in the method, in context with all this. The words is in context with the suttas and so on. Like there are 6-factored upekkha. Then what else? Never mind, don't worry. Don't worry about those things. What is important, you know how to arouse it. Yeah. If you cannot understand those things, it's not a problem. So yesterday, as I mentioned, the six-factored upeka, they are more related in strictly speaking, the six-factored upeka belongs to the arahant. In the sense that because of their mind is free from all the defilements and everything, then the mind don't easily get excited or deficient and so on. So they have a six-factored this thing, six-factored equanimity. Now here, while we are in the practice, because our mind fluctuates from sometimes with grief, sometimes with anger, then it fluctuates another area to attachment, to desire, and so on. So a lot of these type of things, a lot of this type of mental phenomena, especially all these unwholesome phenomena, then we have to learn to bring them into, we have to remove them so that the mind come back to the balance. Usually those are the problem. But nevertheless, even the wholesome mind also, if you allow it to become too much, then it also will shake the mind too. For example, if let's say you sit there and you recall back to all the dana that you have done or the services that you have done, instead of paying attention to your rising and falling or lifting, pushing, dropping, then you start thinking about all the wholesome things. Then you start thinking all the wholesome thing. Then the mind starts become agitated. Yeah, become agitated. Then after that, from there it continue to all kinds of other thoughts. May not be connected to your dana or service or whatever. It goes into your family, goes to this and that. Then all the mind become agitated. So that too, we have to learn to control them. Yeah, but at least that one is, it's still a better mind than unwholesome ones. Yeah, the unwholesome one, then that will be more difficult. So as I said yesterday, when we come to retreat, also, there are many things there are small things that we have fear. Like sometimes sometimes this topic on the spirit and ghost and hantu, this is one of the biggest problem. They don't tell usually they don't come in and tell the teacher, but they talk among themselves. They talk among themselves. Then after that, other yogis become, other yogis or other devotees, when they left the retreat center, then they talk among themselves and then they make other yogis fearful. Not that they don't exist, they exist. But the problem is your fear. The problem is not them, You get it clear to all of you. It's your phobia. And the phobia is because of all this type of fear. Then it becomes a lot of problem. Our mind is agitated. Yeah. Sometimes, like for example, you go to sometimes you go into a forest. If you are not familiar with the forest, there are all kinds of sound and all kinds of things. Or even like going to a cemetery to meditate. You see, all these type of things, is to do with our mind created it all out. Then because it created out, our natural tendency is to let the fear to follow through. And we cannot help it. And this type of phobia, a lot of people have those things. And it becomes actually a mental health problem, health issues. Sometimes, like I've seen documentaries and people phobia about That one, the lizard. The lizard. The lizard. They phobia about the lizard. They phobia about cockroach. They phobia about mice. Phobia about snakes, and so on. Anything that's no legs on, phobia. Uh, so, a lot of things are, all these type of things are because they cannot able to manage the mind properly. Yeah. And also another one is the sadness. Phobia is fear. Sadness is another one, or grief or despair. Sometimes some people, because of sudden death, as I said, then because of their attachment to the loved ones, then that type of attachment, they come to retreat and meditation. It becomes so real, so clear. Then they cannot able to undo. Every time they recall those, every time, I mean, you don't purposely go and recall them, but they kind of like come in on their own. These type of thoughts come in on their own. Then you come in on your own because of the attachment, and it's this one. Some people find that the sadness is there, and then they cannot meditate, grief and so on. And then if they cannot control it, the whole mind goes into like not only just grief, but it goes into like totally lost hope, like that. Cannot meditate also, and then they give up and then pack the bags and go back. And sometimes some yogis they have to do like that because of they cannot control it anymore. Yeah. So they have to stop it. So once in a while, there are yogis like that. There are yogis in this area, that they cannot able to undo. Yeah. Yeah. So what else? Fear is one thing. Hatred also is another thing. All these type of things are really agitate the mind and really swing it, and the mind cannot stabilize it. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to stabilize the mind when this type of states of mind arising? You cannot prevent them yet, but more or less, between the prevention and abandoning at that moment when they are arisen already, then that is to do with your, one thing is to do with your mindfulness. All right. Now, to talk about prevention first. To prevent them, of course, you can talk about from the perspective of, from the aspect of sila, you can aspect of daily life and so on. But that is already, you're supposed to do, But when you come into the retreat now, a lot of your prevention of your thoughts are coming in. It's because of your continuity of that mindfulness, right? The continuity of that mindfulness. The stronger that you're able to have that continuity of that mindfulness, then this type of fear, sadness, and attachment, craving, happiness becomes more in control. Even you don't have to face them. Those things that are supposed to hurt you or make you angry or make you fearful. All you need to do is to develop more and more only. Because you develop more and more, a lot of times, because of the mindfulness is there, because of the continuity is there, then this type of thoughts don't really come in so much. So in a way, because of that continuity of mindfulness, it's already prevention taking place. Prevention taking place. Now, this is prevention is one thing. The second one is that because of the continuity of that mindfulness and also the noting mind and so on, then because of that, when it comes to the abandoning part, okay, when you want to come to abandon that fear, then you got some thing for you to overcome the fear or the sadness. That means there must be certain degree of mindfulness that you have developed to abandon, for you to able to abandon this type of fear, this type of sadness, this type of grief. If the mindfulness is not strong, let's say, that if the mindfulness is not strong, when it comes up, you cannot able to abandon them. What are you going to do? Pack the bags, go back. Cannot. We just cannot do that. But of course, there are cases like that now, But the thing is that we must have to have that continuity of that mindfulness. When you face with these difficult states of mind, then at least you got something for you to arouse so that this wholesome mental state can take over that state of mind so that the mind comes back into the balance. Okay? So that is important. Yeah? So the prevention part, more or less that you have to keep meditating on it. That we cannot do, we don't have to talk about it actually. All you need to do is make sure that you become continuous in your daily activities, in your walking, in your sitting as much as you can. But the abandoning part, this is where we need to talk about it. Because we need to drop it, we need to abandon it for a period of time so that it doesn't come and disturb us. Then progress can build up. Then not only build up, but in the future, when it comes in again, this type of thoughts come in again, then you can able to manage them better. Not only manage them better, but you don't feel the fear or the hurt or the worry or the sadness that much anymore. It becomes lesser and lesser and lesser. But not the memory. Memory is another thing. You still remember, but without fear. You're still able to go on with all your this one, with even when the thoughts arises, then that time the sadness no more, the fear no more, but the memory doesn't go away. It's still clear to you. The problem is that when you cannot abandon them, let's say you recall something of your past loved ones pass away, and every time you think about them, the mind goes into so much sadness and so much remorse or regret. Every time. Maybe you even have like maybe our loved ones, our relative or our siblings or whatever, we have this type of people around also. Every time they think of it, cry already. Every time think of it, cry. Over even after some time, we say time heals, but it doesn't really heal for them. Yeah? It hurt. It's still the hurt is still there so much that every time see their things, sadness already there. So the mind is not in control. Yeah. But the thing is that the vipassana is that because we need to face them, until that every time that we see or hear or touch or whatever, then the time the mind doesn't go into sadness, but the memory is still there. So how are you going to do it? Now you see, when let's say the sadness type of thoughts arises. It comes right in front of you. And this time it is so prominent and rising, falling, everything you cannot do already. So it's so prominent in front of you. So this time when it's prominent in front of you, again here, you must not identify the thoughts as who they are or what they are. If you begin to identify that is my mother, that is my sibling, that is my children, that is who, and so on and so forth. The moment you identify them and you think that it is your mother, and so on, then the whole defilements, the sadness will go even more stronger. It will even go stronger. So next time when this type of thoughts arises, then you take note of them. Sometimes you have to let yourself know. Sometimes you have to recall that this is just mentally created only. This is not my mother. This is a mentally created only. Yeah. This is a memory of the past only. Yeah. You got to face it. You got to, in the beginning partner, you got to, if you note them, you fall into the thoughts. Sometimes you have to dharma talk yourself that this is only concept. This is only a created mind. This is a mental images only. These are past experience. These are just states of, these are just images, these are fantasies that's coming up at the present moment. Sometimes you have to remind yourself, not just noting, but just remind yourself, this is already past. Sometimes all this type of situation or work or your people or whatever, it still wants to be recreated it again and again. Yeah. So sometimes you cannot note them in the beginning. You tell yourself first. Then it will come in. It will still come in. The time when it comes in, let's say, then the tears will automatically start rolling. The tears start rolling already. Then this time, if you can try, make that effort to note the sadness. Sadness, 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 sadness. Crying, 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 crying. Don't go and wipe it yet now. Don't try to stop it yet. Note first, note first, note as much as you can. Because the beginning part on bringing the mind to balance is the most difficult part, because you have to pass through those mental suffering. And it's difficult. This type of mental suffering is not like a bodily suffering. Bodily suffering, your buttock pain, you get up, tip. No more pain. This time you get up, you walk around whole day, it's still going to be there now. So that is going to be difficult. Yeah. So this time, as I said, it's going to be difficult, but you got to face them. You got to face them. I mean, sometimes you may tell yourself, no need to get sad and so on. Yes. A few times you may tell yourself that you dharma talk yourself inside there. Not too bad, not too bad. But don't use that way only. Don't only use those ways only. Finally, you have to come back and note that sad state of mind. That the mind, that type of sadness, it really like inside your heart is like try to squeeze there. And the more you squeeze, the more the tears come out. I squeeze one time, 3 tears come out. Squeeze another time, a few more tears come out. It will be, there's going to be a lot. You pay attention to all these type of things, even the tears are crying and so on. I know it's difficult, but try first before you take up that tissue or that thing first. Because that trying is where you begin to help to reduce that sadness. And the first few times, you will fail, You're not going to pass. You got to go through that thing. And it's difficult and it's really unpleasant. A lot of times we want to just shut it down. We don't want to see. We don't want to remember these type of things. Yeah. Because the moment that we're able to remember that association with that sadness is already there. Automatically remembering sadness, remembering sadness, remembering sadness. So here is that Here, the vipassana is to able to notice that sadness again and again. Feel the sadness, feel its characteristic, feel its suffering inside there. And while doing it, not sadness, 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 crying, 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 grief, 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 despair, 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 no hope, no hope, no hope. Whatever, however you want to note it, but pay attention to it. Now, this time when you pay attention to it, as I said, first few times you may fail, but don't give up hope yet. You do it again and again until one day you find that it takes some time now. It takes some time. It also dependent also on how strong your mindfulness that you have developed in the past. Because if that mindfulness is not strong from the past one, you not put the sadness will squeeze you further. Because the sadness is weak. Your noting mind is weak. The sadness is so strong. So you cannot able to recall an army of noting mind to come in. All the mindfulness is all cannot walk, cannot stand. So, other words, the things that you have done in the past is so important that when it comes to the abandoning of it. So, if the stronger the mindfulness that you have in the past, then let's say this type of sadness come up also strong. So, this time you can recall back, you bring back the mindfulness slowly and slowly, so that you try to not use the mindfulness, pay attention to them, so that the mindfulness and the noting mind and everything will start to overcome this sadness. Yeah, you overcome the sadness. This is how we overcome the sadness. Until next time, we have the memory only without the sadness. In other words, you are healed from it. But most of people is that they don't want the memory. They forget that the sadness is the culprit, Because to them, if you don't remember, you don't recall them, then you don't have all this problem already. No. One way or another, the thoughts will keep on coming up. Maybe not in this life, but next life again, you see reborn in the same time again, then die again and start crying again. It carry you from life after life. Don't think that you just forget about the memory and then everything is over. But when you deal with the sadness, then it's different. Because when you deal with the defilements, this time in the future, this type of memory arises, then you can have the memory, but the feeling is that the suffering is not there. The suffering is not there. Not only that suffering, but let's say that time one for the mother one, let's say that suffering is not. I mean, the suffering is over. Perhaps you're able to manage it much more better than before. It's not only that you manage one problem. You're going to manage all other sadness that that you have of the past, and also those that's coming in the future. Also, other words, you may have sadness towards the death of a loved one, that type of sadness, but perhaps that other sadness also that come from maybe a loss of wealth, a loss of whatever. But it's the same sadness, it's the same grief. Because you manage there, then those others also, you know how to take care of it also. So sekali, you cover everything. Where else? If you don't want the memory, then other occasion when give rise to sadness on all that thing, then that sadness also will come up 100%. You know what I mean right now? That means, in other words, if you just cover the memory, you cover the memory for one particular incident only that you perhaps you can manage. But in life, when the situation changes, you do not know how to manage it because the sadness is still there. Yeah? So, in other words, when we overcome the sadness in certain things, we overcome a lot of things that we have problems with. Not only that, but when it comes into the future, certain situation, like for example, like we go through death, we go through the loved ones dying or going to die, or perhaps last few words, last few hours, or the funeral and all that thing. Then that time up, because you can be able to take care of the sadness, then that time, because of the death there, the mind can manage it much more better. Doesn't mean that it's like full-blown sadness, but there's still, due to our attachment, you see, then the sadness, a little bit is still there. But the mind doesn't go into too much. Some people, this type of sadness and so on, when somebody died, the graph is something like that. This is okay. You go okay. Then after that, somebody died, then the sadness, the mind drop, the mind drop. Then drop already. For those who have done Dhamma and practice, then it depends how much is going to come up and balance again. Sometimes it may take a few days, a week or so. Then you can go on with your life and so on already. But some people don't. Some people, when it's dropped and keep on dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping, and it goes into depression and goes into mental health issue because the mind cannot go up. So the more that the mindfulness that you can have, this thing becomes less and less. For the arahant, it's balance only. So at least ours a bit drop quite quickly come up don't go and go and go. You get what I mean? This is important, and the more that we can able to pull the mind up to the balance, then the more that we can able to meditate further. The mind can progress further. So in other words, the mind is not so affected by it. So in other words, let's say when you meditate, this type of sadness arises and so on. In the beginning part, you're going to feel a lot of difficulty. You note them. Note them. You fail, you get up and walk a little bit, you cry a bucket a little bit, never mind. You just you just carry on, just keep noting. Then after that, in occasion in the future, when it comes up again, you note it a few times, you come to a time you begin to see the memory is still there, but the sadness become less and less and less. And next time when it comes up, you just aware of it, sadness also no more there. That means the mind comes into the much more balanced state of mind, into the balance there. And it can be done. And you overcome a lot of your problems actually. Some people once in a while, it takes them just only one retreat for them to overcome all these things, which is good, which is good, which is good because in a way that you don't fall into, you prevent yourself going into depression and going into anxiety and so on, grief, too much grief and so on, which is good in a way. Some people take a few more retreats because it could be this one is not so strong, quite strong for them. So it helps you to prevent these things in the future. It prevents the sadness from becoming too strong in the future. It's still there, not to say that it's going to be 100%. 100% if you're Arahant or then yes, so too like fear also. Fear of the unknown. Same technique. Because you see, the fear of the unknown, when you come into a retreat time, sometimes in a retreat, you may not have that many people. If sometimes male only one person only. Then one person in under the hall. Any little sound, if your mind is not so strong, then how are you going to meditate? A little sound, you fear. Somebody walk past, you fear. Yeah. All this type of fear, we create it in the mind that we have this type of thoughts of like ghosts and spirits and so on. They could be there, they could be not there. Sometimes our mind is just so wanting to create all those things. So again here, through the ear, through the hearing or through the thinking or through the seeing, especially these three senses, or even smelling also sometimes. Smell something nice, pleasant, must be deva around. Smell something bad, must be some beta around. Xiao na, yeah, the spirit. Just smell something, just because devotees like to talk about all this type of thing. Oh yes, I smell something. I went to Bodhikaya and then I walk around and then I smell some fragrance. Oh, must be Deva around. Maybe lah, but again here when we too emphasize on those things, then the other aspect of it, when you smell something bad, your mind also go into another extreme of thinking that there may be spirits and there might be ghosts and there might be whatever is there. It's both sides. So again here, when this type of things happen, don't interpret it. Don't go into context of interpretation that this is beings and this beta and so on. Uh, uh, it's better to interpret the teacher may be just beside me. Then good lah, at least the fear to meditate better. Fear of ghosts or what? So when you hear these type of things, a lot of times we, because of our nature, we brought up and so on, and also those people like love to see all these horror movie one. I don't know. Yeah, the horror movie give you all kinds of thoughts. Yeah. When I was young, about 5 or 6 years old, my parents love to go and see the horror movie, especially the Indonesian horror movie, Pontianak. For a 5-year-old, all this type of horrible sound, and then to me, every part of the movie, I've put the ears and close the eyes, and my parents want to insist that they want to bring us there. So, but the thing is that it haunted me for a number of years actually. But after that, I'm fine not too bad. But the thing is that this type of things, for a lot of people, is an entertainment. Not just entertainment, but to them, the entertainment become very real to them. That there are beings around here, and moreover, when we are in the Buddhist this thing, we talk about devas and betas and spirits and this and that, and then sometimes even Dharma talk also. Some monks also, they talk about what they have a power to able to prevent all this, regarding like white magic or black magic thing, especially you go to the northern part of Malaysia and so on. All these monks, a lot of monks are not all, a lot of monks can do all these type of things. And then all these type of things, and it happens, it creates a lot of fear in the minds of the devotees. So instead of using the Dhamma, then they start to be using all these type of amulets and so on, in order to in order to strengthen their faith. So they got to feel something. They got to be there. It's got to be there. Well, to a certain extent, it is helpful to a certain extent. But if you want to go deeper into the Dhamma, we cannot rely on these type of things. We have to rely on the wholesome mental state. We cannot rely on all this type of amulets, special kind of prayers. Um, sometimes even like the Buddha mentioned, like sometimes when the fear comes in, even the Jagga Sutta, the fear comes in and so on. The Buddha says that the you recall the qualities of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. Sometimes like for example, you're going to a hotel room. I go to hotel room 来了 then you go inside first, Itipiso Bhagava Arahant Samma Sambuddha. 拜拜老师 Make sure all things to you it's like you do it so that you want to chase them away, which is not right because you only come, you pay, you think it's yours already, They've been staying there longer than you. To them is anyway, this type of things, not to say it's bad, but we just cannot rely on all these type of things. Finally, it must be rely on the wholesome mental states. Now, the wholesome mental state again here, when it comes into the vipassana, again is the same thing, is that we note them. We note the fear. The fear is difficult to note because again here, fear, sadness, anger, ill will, arrogance, no, sorry, not arrogance, irritation, annoyance, all of them are in the same group. They are under the dosa root. They got three evil root, lobha, dosa, and moha. So all of them are cousin brother, this one. Anger, fear, sadness, and so on. All of them connected because of unpleasant mental feelings. So they're all connected inside there. So here, again, this type of fear, you have to note them. You got to be brave because at times, as a yogi, we may not be able to come here all the time. You may need to go to different places to meditate whenever the situation is suitable, and you may be given a kuti, or you may be given a large hall, and you are alone there. Then how are you going to do? What are you going to do? Pack your bags and go back again. And here is where you have to face your fear. Yeah. As long as I mean, that the whole place is locked and everything is fine. But the thing is that we still feel not at ease because of the mind is created all kinds of things there. And moreover, sometimes as a female yogi, may be a bit more difficult than the male yogi. But nevertheless, let's say the whole place is secured. Whole place is secured. The fear is still there because you dare not to stay alone. Even sometimes for us, as a yogi, want to go meditate and hey, together we go together, huh? Go alone, but first time usually a lot of fear. Don't know what they fear, but they want to go together. Kawan, Anyway, when you go deeper, we go further into the practice, we go alone. And we cannot depend on your friends anymore. You cannot. You cannot go alone. You better find a way to go alone. Somebody else is, you are supposed to 2 or 3 persons to go together. One gets sick, the other two also don't go. Cannot. You cannot do like that. You have to be brave enough to face the thing to go. And then after we go there to meditate, whatever challenges, whatever fear that arises, we learn to manage them. When you get used to it, usually the fear gets less. But sometimes for some yogis, that this type of fear, you have to note them. You have to note them. That means when it arises during in the sitting, again, you note that fear. You note the fear again and again and again and again. Sometimes the shiver there. Do it anyway. Pay attention to it until you can able to overcome the fear. As long as you don't pack your bags and go back. Yeah. But that is easier said than done, Sometimes if you really, really cannot wanna, sometimes we have to ask you to go back also lah. Because next time lah, fight another day, next time come again and fight another day. But these are of things, because of that, some yogis, cannot able to that. The mind cannot come into able to note and so on. So next time, when this type of fear arises, pay attention to them. Pay attention to them and just tell yourself, don't interpret what the sound, don't interpret the noise, don't interpret the all this concept and so on to make it so real to you. These are all sound and just let them be. Carry on with your meditation. If you can able to do like that, actually that time you're already able to overcome a lot of things already. But nevertheless, if the fear arises, the strong fear arises, pay attention to them. Fear, 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 fear. One of these days, again, whatever sound arises, whatever this thing arises, it does not disturb you. You know it's there, you don't interpret it anymore, you're already back again to your sensation, feelings, and so on. Then the meditation will keep going and going and going. So anytime all these type of thoughts come in, don't fall into its trap. Or sound come in, or hearing come in, or smelling come in, and so on. So you pay attention to it. So now, this one is one area where the process of suffering, where the unpleasant mental states, unwholesome mental states. But we go on to the next one, which falls under happiness and joy. Because that happiness and joy, if it's too much again, then it's going to affect our meditation. Sometimes attachment. Now, sometimes certain attachment, of course, it brings suffering. Sometimes certain attachment brings happiness, joy, and so on. Bring suffering one, especially for those who miss their loved ones. Attach Gavesi and then meditate, don't know whether they eat or not. Don't know whether they go to tuition or not. Maybe your children, maybe, if you start thinking and all that thing because of the attachment, and then the whole mind become very, very long already. Many years ago, many years ago, 30, almost 30 years ago, I was meditating here. Meditate. I was supposed to come with my friend, I came from Penang, he's supposed to come from KL. Then he's supposed to say that, okay, you go first week first. I'm supposed to come here first, then the second week he's supposed to come. Then I meditate here. After a week or two, still not here yet. After near the third week, he came. Then he came, he meditated for 1 week. Then, after 1 week later, here, Reverend Sujiva scolded him. You go back. Go back. And I was wondering, why in 1 week only, I just asked him to leave. Then Reverend says, Bhante says he's attached to the family. So attached to the family, cannot meditate. Because he was a UM student. Then he been away from the whole semester already. Then after the semester, come and meditate. Didn't see the family. Then very attached lah. Then meditate within a week. Tak boleh tahan. Out you go. Yeah, go back. No choice, because cannot bring the mind back again to this one. Yeah. So anyway, the thing is that when this type of things happen again, if you don't deal with it again, then the attachment can become very strong. This type of attachment, again, it created out. A lot of things being created out by the mind. And it makes your mind worry, it makes your mind, agitated, and then more and more thoughts will start to come in. You just cannot help it, but sometimes you need to go and make a phone call. Maybe you need to send a message, and so on, just to hear their voice, and then, okay, got it. Then go back again. You think this is over, it's going to be over. Yeah, over for that time only, but it's going to again in the future, it's going to come back again. So again here, pay attention to this type of thoughts. Now, another type of attachment that it comes with joy. So here, this type of like fear and attachment, which come with suffering, we come with unpleasant mental states, then we try to handle that. But when those that comes with joy and happiness, that one is even more difficult to take care, because it is pleasant. It is pleasant. When it's pleasant, your minds want it to be there. Now, this type of pleasant mental states, when it comes in, like for example, in the past, you have some happy, maybe you got a childhood, and then you went somewhere and then you recall it, or maybe in your school, maybe in your college, maybe in your university, then you meditate there, and then you replay the whole scene, everything all over again. It may be like 20, 30 years ago, but because of, again, as I said, your mindfulness is strong, then this thing as if like just happened a week ago or a month ago. You can recall them such a detail that what you wear, where you are, whether it's the time of the day, you can see your friends' faces, you can see your siblings' faces, you can see the whole place, you can see what you are doing in front there, as if like you can recall so many things. Yeah? And it's so clear because of the mindfulness. And the more that you involve into it, the more you're happy about it, because it was a happy time to you. You want to recall it, want to play with it. So you meditate there. Sometimes you start smiling. Sometimes you can laugh also inside there suddenly. Then people look at you, 笑了. But because you get attached to all these type of things, I mean, it looks so real. It looks so once in a while, this type of thoughts do arises in the yogis. So again, when it arises, it again is begin to shaken the equanimity already. It begin to shaken that something become more excessive already this time. Yeah? The joy become excessive. So when the joy become excessive, this time we got to note the joy, 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 happy, 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 happy. And then again, you have to bring the mind again to the middle. Again to the middle. You have to know it again, because again, next time, this type of memory will still be there, but the joy is not so strong anymore. It's not to say that it won't be any joy, but the joy will not disturb the meditation part of it. No? Now, some people are not this type of joy, this type of excitement of the mind. It's very kind of like second nature to them. It's very much into their nature. Any little thing, any little thing, they smile and they laugh and so on. Sometimes like meditation. Yeah. Some yogis are not many, but once in a while, they meditate. Suddenly they can find rising, falling. Wow, so happy, so happy they can find rising, falling because of their happiness. They don't watch it. Then after it become too much, then the rising, falling also disappear. you know. Then sometimes they walk. Then you are sleepy, nothing clear, and so on. Then suddenly things become clear. They get very excited. They get so excited that they try to note, but they forget that this time the energy comes in. Because of that, they want to pay attention. They quickly want to note it quickly want to this one it with all the excitement is there, and then after that it will go into more excessive effort, effort or excessive joy. Then the mind becomes agitated. So, other words, whenever you see new objects or whatever that's going on, learn to keep calm, keep calm and keep noting. Yeah. And nowadays people like to wear the keep calm on a t-shirt, yeah. You see that, keep calm and something else, whatever, so here, keep calm and keep noting. You see, the the problem, we don't have to get so excited. A lot of times, as I said, you will see new objects. As you begin to be mindful, you see you can able to overcome certain things. You can able to overcome your fear. You overcome your sadness, which is good. But don't go into another extreme that you become so excited about it. You get so excited about it until again it goes onto another excessiveness of effort or joy. So, in other words, when you're able to overcome it, you bring back into the balance. Yeah? Balance, 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 not. New objects coming in, you can notice your rising, falling very clearly, or it happened one way or another. Don't get too excited. Keep watching, keep watching, keep watching. Yeah? Keep noticing what is coming, what is going on at that moment there. Yeah? So any like thoughts arises, you can able to overcome your sadness, overcome your desire, overcome your fear, or you can able to notice new things, or you can able to recall back to your past and so on. All these things, watch out for their uh, extremes. Watch out for their extreme. So noticing that thing, and then you bring back to the center. Bring back to the center and keep noting and noting. That is where your progress will come in. Okay, this is where how we keep on stabilizing the mind. So next time when you go long enough, that's why when it comes up to what we call the Sankara Upeka Jnana, the 11th insight, the insight before enlightenment, any thoughts that come in, any happiness that come in, any fear that comes in, anything that comes in, it does not shake the mind at all. The mind is so steady. Not only steady that this time your effort cannot go excessive. Your concentration cannot go excessive. Your mindfulness, everything cannot go excessive. 4 o'clock you wake up, you already like super sharp already. Some of you wait until like 5 o'clock in the afternoon only sharp. Whole day nothing much, and then this time they 4 o'clock they wake up. The mind is, once the body is relaxed, they don't have to like go through your right step, left step. Immediately they can go lifting, pushing, dropping, and you can do it for the whole hour without all this too much tension and all that thing. And they can do it the whole day through. No problem. And all the thoughts, that fear that comes in, and nothing shakes them. And everything is all perfectly clear. That is where the Sankara Upeka comes in. Everything comes into balance. So that's why my job is to make sure that you know how to take care of all your extremes. That the more you know how to take care of all your extremes, the more that you know how to come to the middle, to the noting, then your progress it's much more better. All right. So we stop here for tonight, and we'll continue this equanimity on Monday. Yeah. Tomorrow we have a Q&A. So the boxes are at the respective places for those who do not know, is for the ladies is at one of the last table there. For the men, then we put it somewhere below the staircase. So I try to collect this one around after lunch, and also maybe another one at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. So again here, those are online now. That means, okay. So your question is on the on the Dhamma talks, or on the practice, or on the things that you're not sure, fall within the Dhamma, but don't ask me all kinds of outside worldly things. Okay, all right. So we share merits. Idang me bhavanang nibbanasa pachayo hotu. May my mental cultivation be a condition for the realization of Nibbana. Imang no punya bagang sabba satanang dema. We share these merits with our departed ones, with all beings and all the devas. Sabbe satta sukhi hontu anumodantu. May all beings be happy. May they rejoice in these merits. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.